You're watching Pyro Media Network. Hello, Pyro Media family. Thank you for tuning in. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We hope your experience with us is fruitful. While we are loading your experience, please do us a quick favor and hit that like button from whichever platform you're watching or listening on. And we do hope you consider hitting that subscribe or follow button so you can check out more of our amazing content. All right, let's start the show.
What up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Clergy. I'm your boy, Dr. Donta Morrison, and I'm going to be navigating you through tonight's conversation. I am excited. I'm looking forward to this discussion because I really, truly love tonight's guest. And many of you are familiar with him and his work. He's been on my show numerous times. Throughout the years, like numerous times, and I am honored to have him back. So if this is your first time watching Conversations with Clergy, definitely welcome. This show is funded and sponsored by the HIV Vaccine Trials Network. The HIV Vaccine Trials Network is a phenomenal think tank of researchers and individuals who are striving to make the world a better place through vaccine uptake. And I know when you hear the word vaccine, many of you are already like, I'm going to turn this off. I'm going to step away. But no, you need to know that vaccines have been around for decades and have saved millions of lives. And many of you, some may not be vaccinated, but you are able to exist the way you do because of vaccine research, vaccine technology. So let's not shy away from it. Let's learn more about it. Amen and amen again. Also, co-sponsoring is Church One Ministries. Church One Ministries is located in the wonderful city of Long Beach. Church One is dedicated to the fight of social justice, equality, and all things knowledge. And I love Church One because they really do their part to make sure that communities of color are kept abreast and aware of all the advancements, whether it's in the medical field, community field, whatever the case may be. So check out Church One on Facebook and Instagram. See what they're doing. If you're in the Long Beach area, stop by and visit them. Church One would love to have you there. They're located 700 East 70th Street, Long Beach, California, 90805. And the bishop is the phenomenal William Todd Urban Sr. All right, there we go. And that's it. So listen, let's get into tonight's conversation. Tonight's guest is, man, this guy has done a lot of stuff. And sometimes I'm like, man, am I even worthy? But you know what? Yes, I am. How about that? Benjamin Carlton is an inspiring force for change, an intellectual trailblazer and relatable voice in the national movement that celebrates Black people for their aspirations and contributions. With unwavering dedication, Benjamin strives to secure fundamental freedoms such as the right to live, own, vote, and excel, acting as a catalyst for transformative social change. As a co-founder of the renowned BME community, Benjamin empowers and inspires community builders across the nation. Beyond his influential role as a community leader, Benjamin is also a multifaceted talent, showcasing his versatility as an actor, activist, and author of the acclaimed book, I'm Black, I'm a Minister, and I'm Gay. He has emerged as a sought-after diversity, equity, and inclusion trainer, sharing his expertise in asset framing, storytelling, and narrative change. In 2016, Benjamin fearlessly revealed his authentic self as a gay minister, speaking a national dialogue through his feature in theroots.com. As a captivating TEDx speaker, he empowers audiences to embrace their true selves and live authentically every day. With over a decade of experience in social innovation, public relations, equity and inclusion, and executive leadership, Benjamin tirelessly advocates for a better America, fighting for the rights and fair treatment of the Black and LGBT communities. Recognized for his transformative impact, Benjamin has been featured in esteemed publications and platforms including ABC, CBS, Vogue magazine, and the Huffington Post. With an unwavering commitment to empowering individuals and fostering an inclusive America, Benjamin Carlton inspires hope, ignites change, and reminds us all to embrace love, acceptance, and authenticity as we strive for a more just and compassionate society. All right, that was a lot, but listen, this guest on tonight is the phenomenal Pastor Benjamin Carlton. So put your hands together and welcome him to Conversations with Clergy. How you doing, sir?
I am very well. How are you?
I am good. I always take joy in reading people's bios because if you're anything like me, you don't want to hear it, but it's kind of a reminder and affirmation, right, of all that you have done. So I applaud you. And people just know I had to skim that bio down. It was a lot more that I left out. But do yourself a favor and Google this phenomenal individual and learn more about him. So before we go any further, do I call you Pastor Ben, Pastor Carlton, Ben, my homie? Okay. All right.
Ben, please.
All right. So Ben, welcome back to Conversations with Clergy. And this discussion really digs deep into the Black church specifically and talks about the role the Black church should play when it comes to not only inclusivity, but sexual health, HIV awareness, and also something that's very taboo, vaccine awareness, specifically around COVID-19. And I want to just kick off this conversation. We have discussed the Black church for years in different forms and formats. And prior to the show, we even just had conversations about progressive ministries or inclusive ministries, and then the challenge of making all churches progressive and inclusive. And I want to share some. Today, I went to this workshop. And I'm not going to say the person or the affiliation they're a part of, but they're part of the Black church. And they literally got up on the mic and they said, I love going to church. I love being part of the Black church. And sometimes I get in my feelings when other races come to my church. And I was sitting in the audience. I was like, well, I ain't trying to go to no Black heaven. So if we can't have diversity and inclusivity within our places of worship, how do we think heaven is going to be? Do we think that heaven is going to be segregated? Do we think heaven is going to have just this area where they're only doing Black things and we're going to stay over there? I don't understand that. So when we talk about inclusivity and diversity in worship, and you being a DEI expert, what comes to your mind?
Well, the most divided day racially of the week is Sunday. People naturally are drawn to people who are like them, whether it be racially, economically, culturally. And so I can understand someone wanting to feel safe and wanting Sunday to be a place where they don't have to think about some of the atrocities that they experience when they engage with other races. So it makes sense that one would want to create community and just be in their community. And I do see, the environment and the atmosphere changes when other walks in the room, no matter what other is, right? It could be a non-affirming church and a drag queen or a transgender walks in, change the entire environment. And so I think that's just a human trait that you have to really be rooted in love to overcome.
And I love how you said that, how we want the church to be our safe space because we go through so much throughout the week as Black people, people of color. But is the church a safe space for Black people?
The church is not a safe space for all Black people.
See what you did there.
Yeah. If you do not fit the perfect righteous role, it is not a safe space for you. If you are queer and Black, it's not a safe space for you. If you are polygamous and Black, it's not a safe space for you. If you are a spiritualist and Black, it's not a safe space for you. If you are Muslim and Black, it is not a safe space for you. If you, are into yoga and you're Black, it's not a safe space for you. So it is a safe space for some Black people, not all.
And that's interesting. And what I want to also preface is that you're not new to this. You've been in church your whole life. Is that safe to say? So you've seen the church from various lenses. But what kind of growth have you seen when it comes to the Black church?
I've seen the Black church embrace some of the truths about the Bible. For instance, the majority of the Bible is not white. All of those names, those European names, were not the original names of the folks that are in the Bible. And I've seen a movement towards embracing our ethnic roots in the Bible, and people doing a little bit more research. I think the more enlightened we become as a society, the more people have access to information, the more people aren't afraid to speak out. They're uncovering the truths slowly, but they are uncovering truths. I've seen the Black church embrace other slowly, where, if you were queer anything, you would be blasted out of majority of churches. But now churches are being tolerant, although tolerance is not what we want, but that's the phase that they are. You can be gay, come to church, but we're not going to put you in leadership. You can be gay and come to church, but don't come holding your partner's hand. We're not going to marry you, baptize you, christen your home, christen your child, but you're welcome to come to church and you're welcome to give us your money.
Right.
I've seen small growth, but not the love and growth that Christ is looking for.
And interestingly enough, because we've had these different seasons within the Black church, and trust me, everybody, I'm going somewhere with this conversation. We've seen these different seasons. There was a time when women were at the forefront of argument and debate because they did not feel, they were equal within this space. They felt like, well, we're just as called as the man. Why are we not allowed to stand behind the pulpit? Why can we not do this? Why can we not do that? And there was this whole women's liberation movement within the church. And then once they pushed that agenda and they got to where they believed the Bible said they should be, we're now in a new dispensation in time where it seems like it's the LGBTQ community trying to find space within the Christian church, or the traditional Christian church from a biblical perspective. Yet the pushback seems different for queer Christians than it did for women Christians. It seemed like women was a little bit more palatable to adjust the Bible to fit their needs than it is for queer individuals. And you have even shared, you taught me that the word homosexuality is not even in the original text. It was introduced in, was it 1942, 43? 46, introduced to the text. So knowing that we have seen these shifts with biblical interpretation, biblical understanding, biblical teaching, do you think this is just a phase that we're going through, and then there will be a day where we will have just inclusive ministry across the board, and we even got to say that the church is inclusive?
There will absolutely be a day of full inclusive ministries. I don't think it'll happen anytime soon. I will probably be, 50, 60 when that happens, because the younger generation, Gen Z, folks who are like 18 to, early or late 20s, and generations of younger folks are embracing the fullness of their human experience. And ultimately, folks like myself will be in leadership. We'll be in charge. We'll be making the rules. You see, a lot of denominations are abolishing discriminatory practices as younger people are coming into power and influence, it will be the popular thing to do because more and more people will come into their truth. You know, when I was younger, I thought I was the only gay person because I was not exposed to the huge community of LGBTQ plus folks. And there's so many of us that it will be impossible to ignore us, and it will be impossible not to take our money, because that is what will be the focus of the church of the future, is how do we stay alive as our numbers are declining.
Right. Now, I think that, and this is where I'm going with this, I think the catalyst to that shift was COVID. I think the pandemic brought in this wave where the church is now at this impasse of, do we want these seats filled so these doors can stay open, or do we want to stay traditional and divisive? Because I think we're now at a space where people are like, I don't want to go back to the same thing. You know, when I was there, you know, I witnessed, you know, X amount of people succumb to COVID. I witnessed all this trauma because of COVID. I couldn't bury my loved ones because of COVID. I want to go back to church, and church be a safe space. I don't care who's up in there, how they identify. So what role do you think COVID had, you know, on where the Black church is right now?
I think COVID absolutely did two things. One, it wiped out a whole roll of people that said, I'm not going back to church. Because I have done quite all right without stepping into the four walls. I wasn't cursed. God didn't take nothing from me. I actually grew and increased in my blessings.
Right.
And then there's another group of people who felt the presence of God at home watching church online. Why get up, drive all the way to church, deal with people that I don't want to deal with, when I can deal with God right at home, get my blessing right at home, and then go on about my merry day. And then the third group of people, our seniors, realized that they didn't have to go through the hoops to get into the building, but they can be taken care of right at home. And I think they were probably the only ones to do a mass return because that is their social setting, their social mothers board, the deacons, the community, especially for our seniors who are living all by themselves. So I think they were the main population to run back when the doors open. Actually, you had to say, close your doors because COVID will kill the seniors. You had to convince pastors to close their doors. So I think seniors were the main group that ran back.
And when you think about the Black church's response and responsibility during the pandemic, how do you think we rated on a scale of 1 to 10? Do you think the Black church immersed itself enough in the solution to COVID when it comes to vaccine uptake, educating folks to get tested, educating folks to research and possibly get the vaccine? Or was the Black church more focused on prayer?
Neither. I remember being extremely upset at people that I loved and adored, pastors that I love and adore, because they contributed to the chaos. They contributed to the confusion. I shut down everything immediately, not knowing anything, not knowing full details of what COVID could do, what COVID was, but it was better to be safe than sorry. Right. And most of them were not concerned about people's welfare, not concerned about people's spiritual walk, but more concerned about tithes and offering and getting people into the door. Because if you're a real believer and if you're a real shepherd, God can reach you anywhere because the church is the body, our human body, not a physical building. So I was extremely upset at how the church handled COVID initially, contributing to the confusion, contributing to folks not getting vaccines, contributing to folks not practicing social distancing and the ways in which we were to keep ourselves safe. They were not the proponents. They were not the uplifters of those messages.
And I appreciate you saying that. And it's real. And I know a lot of people hate to admit that their churches just kind of didn't do what they should have been doing to keep their congregations safe and out of harm's way. And even for me on the research side, just trying to get buy-in from faith leaders to understand, vaccine awareness and what's going on. But it seemed like they got caught up in how did this get here so fast? How did we get a vaccine so fast? And trying to debunk all the COVID isn't new. This variant is new, but COVID's been around. Look at the back of your Lysol can. It says SARS, it says COVID, all that kind of stuff. So when it comes to research and faith, and the Black community, because there's a lot of medical mistrust, and a lot of Blacks are still holding fast to a misunderstanding about Tuskegee and the syphilis experiment. When it comes to faith and science, do you think there is a balance that the church is missing?
There is no healthy balance between faith and science within most religious institutions, whether it is a Christian sect or Islam or Catholics. It's just not a healthy balance. The name it, claim it, believe it, receive it. It's, and even when it comes to just logic, God's going to make you a millionaire. You don't just become a millionaire. $1 million is not going to drop in your lap. So get out of this millionaire line. If you don't have $1 million idea, business, economic engine, something. There's so many people who've been prophesied they're going to get $1 million and haven't gotten it yet. And when science demonstrates that there is an issue, instead of us aligning, instead of us getting our faith-based doctors in on it, right? Here's a committee of we have a committee of everything. When gay people want to do something, they had a gay rally, anti-gay rally in Atlanta. Churches marching down the streets, anti-gay. Why don't you march down the street with all your faith-based doctors and have them give the church an opinion? There wasn't faith-based task force of faith-based scientists and doctors advising the church, and that should have been the first step.
I agree 100%. I agree. You're dropping nuggets, you're dropping knowledge. I appreciate it, man. Hey, y'all, listen, we're going to take a quick commercial break, but during that break, I want you to go get a sip of water, get a sip of wine, get a sip of whatever, but whatever you do, come on back. We're back in 2 minutes, so don't leave.
Because self-care should be luxurious. Luxe Noir.
Elevate your entertainment with Watch Vim. Discover the ultimate online streaming destination. Get an auto-renewing monthly subscription for unlimited content on all devices. Join us in supporting a Black-owned streaming platform that brings top-tier entertainment. Let the streaming excitement begin at Watch Vim, your seamless experience for endless entertainment. Stream online or download the Watch Vim app now.
Are you ready for enlightening conversations that transcend boundaries? Get ready for Conversations with Clergy, brought to you by the HIV Vaccine Trials Network. In partnership with the world's largest publicly funded international collaboration, the HVTN is dedicated to evaluating vaccines to prevent HIV and COVID-19. But their impact doesn't stop there. The HVTN is at the forefront of advancing vaccinology, social and behavioral sciences, statistics, immunology, and even contributing to the research on tuberculosis and COVID-19 vaccines. By supporting Conversations with Clergy, the HVTN not only brings you thought-provoking discussions, but also contributes to the global effort to combat infectious diseases. Tune in, stay informed, and be a part of the change. Conversations with Clergy, supported by the HVTN, empowering conversations, empowering lives. Join us in this journey of knowledge, understanding, and progress. Conversations with Clergy proudly brought to you by the HIV Vaccine Trials Network, because together we can make a difference.
Know that you can now catch the electrifying sounds of Bulletin Flight Radio anywhere you go? Yes, you heard it right. Tune in to the high-flying beats and soaring melodies by downloading the TuneIn app on your mobile device. Just search for Bulletin Flight Radio and hit play. It's that easy. And if you have a smart device like Alexa or Google, just say, "Hey Google," or "Alexa, play Bulletin Flight Radio on TuneIn." Experience the rush of adrenaline wherever you are. Listen to Bulletin Flight Radio on TuneIn using your Alexa or Google devices. Soaring through the skies has never sounded this good. Don't miss out on the ultimate musical journey. Tune in now to Bulletin Flight Radio on TuneIn and let the music take you on an unforgettable ride. Get ready to elevate your listening experience. Brought to you by Bulletin Flight Radio.
Welcome back to the second half of Conversations with Clergy. I'm Dr. Donta Morrison. My special guest is Pastor Ben Carlton, author, actor, activist, influencer, all-around cool guy. So before the break, we talked about COVID-19 and how the Black church responded, and we both agreed that the Black church could have done a lot better. But all that aside, we're successfully moving forward, and thankfully, people are out there now living their best lives post-COVID, but there's still a lot of trauma that some people are experiencing. And I had guests about 3 weeks ago, we talked about the after effects of COVID. We talked about long COVID and all that kind of stuff. So I just want to know, Ben, when it comes to the after effects of COVID, and then we're going to dive into some talk about sex and HIV, after effects of COVID, what should the church prepare for when it comes to their congregations? Because some people are still just trying to navigate that.
Well, I just wanted to say something I thought about before the break. When we talk about the realness of our faith and who we are supposed to be as people of God, and if we're supposed to be healers and doing above and beyond, the concern was getting people in the door instead of surrounding hospitals in prayer. Like that would have been, if I had a huge congregation, even a small congregation, if we're going to come out, let's go out and surround this hospital with prayer. Let's lift up these souls right here. Or our whole entire service would have been dedicated to uplifting those who are coping, struggling, and dying, and people dealing with not being able to bury loved ones and not being able to, live life normally. Let's dedicate our time to praying and uplifting them, because what else are we going to preach about? What else is there to talk about?
Right.
The world is paused and there's nothing happening.
Right.
You're not going out to buy no Mercedes because the doors are closed. You're not going out to buy no house because they ain't selling them. So what are we preaching?
Ain't nobody interviewing for no new job.
Ain't no new job.
Ain't no increase.
We're praying that we don't get evicted because we don't have no money to pay rent. That's what the conversation, anyway.
No, that's touche. I think that's spot on. And I also think COVID separated the wheat from the tare. We got to see who really were the pastors, versus the opportunists. And I hate to say it that way, but some pastors could not handle the pandemic. They could not handle all that it entailed. They could not handle dealing with their congregations and dealing with their families. It's like your family's at home sick with COVID, plus your entire church. How do you as a pastor navigate that? And it took a toll on a lot of clergy. And I just think that we're now still in recovery mode, but there's so much more to come when it comes to the mental effects of what happened to people, church people, during the pandemic. And I think the pastors just got to get ready because we're a long way from being done.
Yeah, and not saying that all churches were doing that, but it wasn't the majority.
Right. It was not the majority at all, not by a long shot. So let's pivot really quick. We're going to take a hard right on Vernon. And let's talk about sex and HIV. Sex and HIV. Now, I know it's a mute point for a lot of people because everybody said, well, the church ain't going to talk about it. But there are some churches out there that I am starting to recognize and observe that have no problem talking about sex, sexual health, human sexuality. And these are non-progressive ministries. These are just pastors like, yo, we know what's going on and we know we need to talk about this. But when we think about HIV and sexual health, because some churches, some pastors, some denominations have this binary way of thinking, and they're in this box, is that a disservice to the Black community as a whole?
The number one contractor of HIV in the United States are not even gay people. It's Black women. Straight, gay, bi, whatever you are, the number one contractor of HIV in America are Black women. And that is due to the DL culture that is supported by the church. Pastors knowing people are full well gay and still marrying them. Pastors knowing people are full well gay, encouraging them to suppress who they are and suppress their feelings and suppress who God created them to be, causing them to go underground and act out what they naturally feel as human beings. And so the church is not doing this cause a just service because they won't bring the reality of our human experience to light. And they bring shame to the life of the lived Black queer person of faith, which causes them to, do the things they do. And then here we got high rates of HIV, not even amongst gay people, but Black women.
And to add to that, what's unfortunate is that after these marriages crumble, or there's a certain level of exposure, there is no protection for the man. There is no safety for the man. He's exiled by the same people who knew what he was before he got married. I know a number of pastors that have been outed or exposed and whatever, and then drug on social media. And I'm sitting back looking like, so there's just no empathy for what this man is going through. Do y'all really think that it was pure intentionality to do this to this woman? I'm like, there was a lot of coercion behind the scenes from people that we look up to and respect that says, well, just go ahead and get married to her and everything will come out in the wash, or just don't think about it, it'll go away. And I like how you said about a person's just natural. It's the natural desire. Now, I know some people watching gonna say, no, it's unnatural. It's not from God. It's a sin. It's an abomination. It's a demon and whatever. But I don't know how a person can be full of the Holy Spirit and also full of a demon at the same time. Light washes out darkness. So I'm not certain how that works in the spiritual world, but so we think about these men that are pushed into these spaces, these DL episodes. I hate the whole DL thing because it gives credit to a phenomenon that Oprah perpetuated that now made heterosexual Black men not even want to be close to their brother for assuming that they must be on the DL. But I know what you're saying. What needs to happen? What do you think needs to happen to make the church more accountable for sustaining that culture and then being more involved in the decrease of HIV infections?
Well, one, before I even get there, I'll give an example of how unsafe practices are perpetuated. There was a pastor out of Florida who had a sex tape released by a porn star. Mm-hmm. He was in the sex tape having unprotected sex with this porn star who has unprotected sex with a bunch of other porn stars. I've seen the videos, not for research purposes, for my adult pleasurable purposes. So I'm gonna get you before you get me. I'm gonna tell me before you try to get me. Yes, I was watching. Now,
Right.
his video that came out on Twitter, I wasn't looking for it, but it was there. His church aggressively denied that it was this man who we see his face, we hear his voice, we hear his strong Southern accent, and it's the same pastor who is up on the pulpit demonizing the LGBTQ community. Sounds so much like the life I used to live. Instead of the church saying, we don't know, instead of anybody saying, hey, has this man been tested? Is this man, shouldn't he have been having safe sex in this video? Instead of focusing on the action and the damage that could possibly cause his wife, because if he went from having sex with this porn star unprotected and then went home, I can't imagine him putting on a condom with his wife and she going along with it. I don't know what happens in their bedrooms, but that's what I would imagine. What do we have here? What if he had contracted HIV and now is giving it to his wife? Which that's how it happens most times, because we don't push people into their truth in a safe way.
Right.
We push people into their truth in a very demeaning, toxic way where they don't even want to walk in their truth. So that is number one. We have to acknowledge what folks are doing and act and don't act like our eyes not show us what we all saw and heard. It's number one.
Right. And just before y'all get to saying something, Pastor Carlton is not saying that all porn stars have HIV.
Oh, no, not at all.
He is not saying that. Because I know somebody's sitting there like, well, so that means they all got HIV. You know, the ignorant and and ignorant is not a bad word either. Those that may take it out of context say, so he just said basically that all gay porn stars have HIV. No, that's not what he's saying. He's just saying the practice puts you at risk for exposure to HIV in the event that the person is with had HIV or have been in contact with others who had HIV. It's just a risky thing all the way around. So no, gay porn stars do not have HIV. Well, not that we know of. Yeah. Okay.
Well, one, thank you for that. But I know plenty of gay porn stars who practice getting tested, not practice. They get tested often and they're on PrEP. And they are very mindful after each experience, they're getting tested. So let that lay out there as well. And people who have HIV are most times more healthier than people who don't, because they're constantly seeing their doctor. They're constantly being checked on. So, you know, let's lay that out there.
Right.
Two, the church needs to unlearn everything that they have been taught about homosexuality. Get to the root of it all. We can't ask people to walk into the truth about something that they are afraid of and unknowledgeable about, however you want to make that make sense. Because what you fear, you stigmatize.
Yes.
And when you stigmatize, you attack and you keep in the dark, and you won't allow people to walk in their light and walk in their truth. And if people only knew how the Bible was manipulated, if people only knew how the Bible was even formed, if people only knew that the word homosexuality didn't get into the Bible until 1946, they changed words like pedophile and prostitute into the word homosexual. And then the word was used to attack and demonize a group of people. And then when the people realized that that's what they had done, they changed the word back and took it out of versions in 1977. But by that time, the damage was done. And most people don't know that. And most people get real quiet when I lay down that fact. Not my opinion. When I lay down that fact, they get real quiet. Because the source in what you use to attack someone is not real. It's fabricated. It's fake. It is made up. And so the more we walk into our light, the more we are enlightened about religion and the institutions of religion and how most people, you ask them who wrote the Bible, they'll say God. Excuse me, who? So if you think God wrote the Bible, we in trouble right there already.
From the gate.
From the gate.
I
can't
the
talk to
gate.
you about LGBTQ nothing because you
gotta go to the
not
basics.
the Bible.
Let's go to the basics. Let's go to the basics with you. Right.
That's right. Yes.
Right.
Most people don't
So
know there's
basically-
hundreds of stories that have come together over thousands of years,
Right.
written by different people, and then sourced and judged and elected by groups of white men to determine how we conduct ourselves as human beings. That is the truth of the Bible. And most
Right.
people don't know that. So we can't even get to talking about how do we get people out of this space until people understand how the source, the book that they trust and love, was even formed and put together.
And I think that's important to know. And we got like 3 minutes left in this episode. That's important to know. Get to the root. And I think when it comes to anything educational wise, when it comes from the church, let's get to the root of these understandings so we can disseminate proper information. People don't even know why they don't like gay people. It's like, you don't know why. Well, the Bible says, but what else does the Bible say? But why gay people? Just why? And instead of them having a healthy discourse to really unpack it, they get angry and they start attacking. And it's like, well, what made you so mad? What did I say? Because I'm not upset. What made you so mad? And I think if we begin to do that, then we can finally see the Black church become that social space that it used to be back, during the Civil Rights Movement. It used to be that trusted location where all could come and get what they needed to know on how to do politics, banking, finance, entrepreneurship, whatever. But we've lost that vigor within the Black church. It's become this space where people will go out of habit and not because they really want to be there. And I think if we begin to have these conversations and normalize these conversations where they're not just one-offs, it's just constant conversations. Like you said, we'll see that generational shift, and those intergenerational teachings will begin to disseminate because new levels of understanding will have been inserted. So Pastor Ben, 60 seconds, give me your closing statements for this episode. What do you want folks to take away from this when it comes to the Black church, HIV, sex, COVID, vaccines, condoms, PrEP, PEP, all that kind of stuff?
One, get rid of white Jesus. Find out who we were before the slave master and the Roman Catholics and King James told us who we should be. And get to love. Love is the principal matter. If you have not love for your brother whom you see every day, it's impossible for you to love God. And they didn't say love your straight brother. They said brother, period. Another human being. Doesn't matter who and what they are. So get back to love, and I promise you, you will be headed in the right direction.
I love that. How can folks find you on social media and just check you out, get your book, all that kind of stuff?
BlackLoveWins.com is my website. I'm working on my second book, Love Interrupted. It's about finding out who we were before they told us who we should be, so we can stop defining ourselves by the slave master's dictionary. You can find it at I've Been Carlton on all platforms.
I love that. Brother, I thank you for taking the time out of your very busy schedule and all that you are doing to just sit with me for these 45 minutes to have discourse about the Black church. Like I said, I think this is something that should be ongoing. We should not just have these one-offs or wait till December to talk about HIV and AIDS for World AIDS Day. We should be talking about how do we repair the Black church to make it just this trusted and safe space for all, not just for those who are comfortable going, but for everyone. So I look forward to just furthering these conversations, whether online or off, it doesn't matter to me. But, keep up the good work with all you do. Y'all make sure to get this book. Get this book. Check out this book. Support this book. Y'all always say you want to support Black authors, Black writers, Black entrepreneurs. Well, you're looking at one right
We'll
here.
answer every question you possibly could have.
Period, point blank.
A lot of time writing this. Years.
I was at the book signing and all that kind of stuff. So listen, let's support this dude. So shout out to everyone that's watching. Shout out to the HIV Vaccine Trials Network, who funds and supports Conversations with Clergy. If you're not familiar with the HVTN, please visit www.hvtn.org and just type in faith-based initiative. You will see me and my counterparts and colleagues in the fight to make sure that our spaces of worship are educated about vaccine research, HIV technologies and advancements and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to have have a conversation about BNABs coming up real soon. If you've never heard of BNABs, BNABs is the new thing in the fight against HIV, broadly neutralizing antibodies. It is something that's going to make sure that you cannot contract HIV, along with PrEP and everything else in your toolkit. BNABs is coming soon. It's down the road, but it is coming. But I'm telling you now, so we're not ignorant or shocked when it does hit. All right, I don't want us to be ignorant and lost. And also check out Church One Ministries. Church One Ministries is a wonderful place of worship in the city of Long Beach. They truly support conversations with clergy. They truly support the fight against HIV. Make sure people get tested, know their status, and also they push for COVID testing and COVID vaccinations. So check them out. Church One Ministries, 700 East 70th Street, Long Beach, California, 90805. So until next time, everyone be safe. Get tested, know your status, ask questions, live in your truth. So if you are a down low brother watching and you want to know what should you do next, hit up either myself or Pastor Ben. You need an ear, you need a voice, you need a safe space to really unpack what you're dealing with so you cannot traumatize yourself and others. All right, so we're here for you. Know that. All right, Kwame, take us out. Take care, everybody.
Thank you for watching Pyro Media Network. For more information, please visit pyromedianetwork.com.